Okay, so in the previous video, I discussed VMware and its data center virtualization ecosystem. ESXi hosts, um, also called vSphere, vSphere client, the vCenter server, etc., etc., etc. What you could do with the free and what you could do with the licensed version of VMware's family of products. Now we're going to talk about Hyper-V. Hyper-V came out as a Type 1 hypervisor with Windows Server 2008. So this is around the Windows 7 timeframe. There have been a number of Hyper-V releases since then. Now, Hyper-V is both a Type 1 and a Type 2 hypervisor. Microsoft had a Type 2 hypervisor before, as we discussed, but it was called Virtual PC. This dates back all the way back to the Windows XP days. Microsoft also provides a system center that you can use to manage multiple hosts, making it a system center in the virtual machine manager roughly analogous to VMware vCenter. This also gives you some of the same capabilities that you would need. Some of the things you can do with simultaneous management of multiple hosts, clustering, high availability. You'll find a lot of the same capabilities across the two families of products. They're just called different things. So make note as you go of the similarities. Really make note of the differences, because those similarities and those differences are where you'll probably find test questions. So just to look at the available resources and features. As you can see, looking at your server 2K8 versus your server 2K16 columns, Hyper-V and server 2016, notice we've skipped 2012. 2012, you don't really need to, except for those purposes of comparison, you don't really need to worry about that. Hyper-V can handle more of everything, basically. 512 logical processors, 24 terabytes of physical memory, 2,048 virtual CPUs per host. 2K8 R2 Hyper-V could only handle 4 virtual VMs, virtual CPUs for VM, whereas with Hyper-V 2, we're both actually we're dealing with many more. 16, 1240. The thing to note here, make sure you understand very clearly what these Gen 2 and Gen 1 and Gen 2 hypervisors are. Because a Gen 2 VM, sorry, a Gen 1 VM is basically an old-fashioned VM using, it can use either a 32-bit or a 64-bit OS. It uses the old BIOS, it simulates an old BIOS boot format or hardware management system. The other thing that Gen 2 can only take 64-bit operating systems, can only handle UEFI. So it is more advanced. It has more capabilities in some respects, particularly more security, because UEFI has more security built into it than BIOS ever did. But it is in some senses less flexible. It has more capacity, but there's a trade-off. And of course, in terms of your clustering, larger clusters supporting more VMs. Next, we're going to talk about data center storage. Thank you, and I'll be right back.